Hello everyone, it's Melissa and I am back. And today is officially my last layout for 2019. I will be scrapping a 12 by 12 page of New Year's Eve with some family and friends, and starting off by pulling from my product jar. And you can see there that I have pulled ribbon, eyelets, doilies, labels, project life card, clips, and thickers. And here I'm showing you a cut file, and that is a freebie from Jelly Bean Soup, and I have attached the link to this file in the description box below the video. I'm using a paper collection that I always use for New Year's Eve called You Rock from Close to My Heart, and I have been using that for years and years and years, you guys. I'm showing you here I have a gold Sharpie and some NUVO glimmer paste in gold, and I'm going to be using that, in fact, to change the color of my title. So here I'm showing you how it looks when you just put the gold on a white piece of cardstock. I didn't love it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a gold Sharpie and color each of the elements that I intend on putting the glimmer paste on. And in the end, I totally love it. And I hope you do too, quite honestly. So here's how it looks colored, which is gorgeous as it is, but I wanted the glitter factor. And the great thing about this glimmer paste is it doesn't flake off. So once you put it on and you let it dry, you have, glitter paper. And it's just beautiful. I love it. I bought it in gold and silver. And I saw it a few months back on a video. I want to say Missy Whidden did one, and she used some of it for a hip kit video. And I just was like, I have got to get my hands on that. So this was my first time using it, and I just couldn't be happier. Okay, so in fact, the one thing I don't get used on this page is thickers, and it's because I chose to cut that title and it was so big. So I wanted it to be a very big statement on my page, so this page really came together very quickly. I'm showing you that I have a scrap project life card from Allie Edwards, a doily, some scraps, bits of paper. I'm using a stamp from the April Stories by the Month kit. And the stamp actually says living life one day at a time. And it's just a selfie I took with some friends. And I'm just going to utilize that top portion with that yellow green because it matches the pattern paper. This is another stamp from Pink Fresh Studio, which I will be using. And then ribbon, of course. And just the scraps that I have been pecking away at from the You Rock Close to My Heart paper collection. I've just been using this every year, backing up files, just using little bits here and there. And that's exactly what I do for this page. And my girlfriend asked me if this was going to kill the paper this time around. Well, in fact, it did not. I have a lot left, and I look forward to pulling it out again next year. So there's that. So you can see there, one of those strips had a hole that I cut out already out of that. So we're just going to cover that up. No one will ever know. Those strips are probably 3/4 of an inch and 1/2 an inch. So once I add the ribbon, you won't even see that hole. So I'm basically just going to use scraps. My photos were printed in black and white at 2x3, and the bigger one is at 3x4. And like I mentioned in the first part of the video, the title, I don't want to say it's the star of the show, because ultimately in my mind, the pictures and the story and the photos are always supposed to be the star of the show. Everything else is extra. But in this instance, unless something really drastic happens on New Year's Eve, there's not a ton that me personally, that I ever have to say about that night. It's always basically the same thing. A group of us getting together, ringing in the new year. So I already know going into this page, I don't need a lot of room for journaling. I don't have a ton to say. So knowing I had 3 photos, the title was going to be just perfect being as big as it was. Now, like I mentioned, I linked that free cut file in the description box below. So, yeah, you can cut it whatever size you want. I just loved it being such a big statement. And with the glitter, I mean, I toyed with the idea of adding, like Heidi Swapp color shine and stuff to the background with some splatters. But in the end, I'm glad that I didn't, because the title just really pops on the white. So I'm very pleased with it. So you see here I've got some ribbon. I'm just tying it in a single knot, and I'm going to adhere it. Eventually I will use some gold staples and adhere it down on both sides. But for right now, I'm just going to glue it down with some score tape. I have, I want to say it's 1/8 inch size score tape. And I just picked that up at Joann's or Hobby Lobby. But I'm using some Stampin' Up! Grow Grain. It's like a purple Grow Grain, old from my stash, and matches this collection perfect. I also am going to use a doily. I just pulled a white doily from my stash, and scraps of paper per my usual. I do a lot of fidgeting with this page. Ultimately I cut most of it out, but I do fidget a lot with the scraps. That's the one thing when you're using scraps and things. I've found that I've got to get that stuff glued together and glued down immediately. Otherwise, all the moving around and it's all over the place has me so unfocused on, the things that I want to do that, yeah, I just can't relax. So, for instance, because I don't have the top portion, the cheers of my title adhered down, I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to put that 3x4 group picture. So, and because I don't know that, I can't put the doily down, and it's just one of those things. It's just kind of a little bit of a train wreck up there. So I need to get my title placed down and glued down, and so that it's one less thing I need to fidget with. Ultimately, I end up cutting. You see that doily, I will end up using both pieces, but like I mentioned, it's until things start getting glued down, this is just extremely frustrating for me. So I have the Pink Fresh stamp, and I had a little half of a label. You can see it says "Together I Love Us." Those are kind of shiny surface label stickers, so I made sure to use Stays On Black. I'm letting that dry over there for a minute. I'm using my Stampin' Up, one of my Stampin' Up label punches, and I'm going to turn that element into a tag. One of the product pulls was eyelets, so when I pull an element like that, I almost always know that there's going to be a tag somewhere on the page in some way, shape, or form. So I already know after pulling that element, I try to, I set in my mind where the tag is going to be, and if I'm going to in fact use twine, which I almost always do, sometimes I don't, but those things always, as soon as I make a pull, my mind is already working on the elements that I'm going to need and want on my page. So that is like a matching purple to the ribbon, and just going to use some crochet twine and put it through there and tie a knot. Eventually down the road, you will see me add a gold staple to adhere that into place as well. So something I didn't do, I kind of want to fill you in on a little bit of a background story to this page. Something I don't ever recall really doing before, and I've loved it every time I have seen it, is tearing the paper and adhering a different color like onto the back. And in fact, I almost did it on a layout you'll see, coming up for my husband's birthday, but I don't know. I just struggled with it. So this time I thought, you know what the heck? And by what the heck, I really meant I was diving in, because I'm not sure you can tell, but 3/4 of my title is already glued down. So in essence, if I screw it up, I'm, really messed up here. So, but later on in the video, you will see that I tear the paper, the background white, in 2 spots and add a piece of purple to the background. And you know what? I love it. Like, it is just a great way to just have more color, have nothing like really competing, like not bringing in another element for color, like for instance a star or a heart or another shape. It's similar to when Missy Wooden uses, let's say, the thread balls that she puts in places on her pages. I feel like, those are great. That's a great way to bring in more color and not really have to bring in another shape or another element or a piece of ephemera. And it just draws the eye there. So I'm super pleased with how it turned out. So I have a Stampin' Up! Clip there. I'm just going to put it there. Nothing fancy, but it was in my pulls, and so it's just one more clip out of my stash, you guys. I do have gold thickers. I toyed with the idea of using some of the bits from them, but with my title having turned out so great and the little like sparkle or twinkle elements around it, there was no way I was messing with it. I just was so super happy with it. And so you can see there, so I've added the staples, and I always like to put washi tape or something on the back of my layouts so they don't puncture through to other pages and the page protectors and whatnot. So, but I will read you my journaling, and it does say, it is a quote from one of Allie Edwards' Story by the Month cards from one of her kits that I got last year. And so it says, "Dear past, thanks for all the lessons. Dear future, I am ready. Ringing in 2020 with friends, Smith and Thomas family." Yeah, that's basically all I needed to say, you guys. And to be honest, I might actually use that card with that quote on it in my January project life, because I like it, and I just copied it with my typewriter. So yeah, you might see that when I do that share. So here again, I mentioned this is my last layout for 2019, and I am thrilled. On to 2020. I've got my albums already set out, and I need to work on my cover pages, but I could not be happier. So like I mentioned before, I did that tearing to bring more color, and so like here I go. I was not sure. I was nervous. I was more than nervous, if I'm being honest. Like this page is done. So if I screw it up, I have to like it screwed up, and that's all there is to it. So this is a purple paper from the kit. I'm just going to adhere it onto the back and just line it up. And yeah, that background white turns out is just a real flimsy white from, one of my big box stores. And so it's kind of moving around. You probably can't tell, but yeah, it's not very sturdy, which is fine. So I'm going to add sequins, and that's going to be it, you guys. I appreciate you watching and hanging out. If you like this video and this project, I would love a thumbs up. I'd also love it if you subscribe to my channel. I'm wanting to build my subscribers for 2020, and I would love some more. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will have links to my social media accounts in the description box below. You can find me over at Cut It Up Creations on Instagram and Facebook. I'll have some close-ups here at the end, and yeah, check out that cut file from Jelly Bean Soup. The link will be in the description box as well. And thank you guys, and have a great, fantastic, crafty week. Bye.